Young people have become some of the brightest, most engaged voices in the fight to reverse the effects of climate change. Think 20-year-old Swedish activist Greta Thunberg times 1,000 others. The passion is clear. They're the ones who will have to live with the future those older than them leave behind, an Earth severely damaged by carbon emissions or not. Some high school students in the Adirondacks are engaged in climate change activism this week at a youth climate summit in Canada. We check in with them on today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day is provided by CCOM Credit Union, serving the financial needs of people throughout northern New York and Vermont. In person, online at ccom.org, and on your smartphone.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Thursday, June 1st, my daughter's 16th birthday. Incredible. Feliz cumple, Olivia, whether you're listening or not. First up, the House of Representatives passed a bill to raise the debt ceiling last night. Both of the North Country's representatives, Republicans Elise Stefanik and Claudia Tenney, voted in favor. In a statement on Twitter, Stefanik called the bill the largest deficit reduction bill in American history and said it would, quote, restore fiscal sanity and rein in reckless spending. As part of the deal, Republicans negotiated a change to SNAP, the food stamp program. Under the new rule, more adults without children would have to find work in order to qualify for the food benefits. Previously, the age cutoff for the work requirement was 49. Lucy Grindon reports.
If this new rule becomes law, anyone 54 or younger who's deemed able-bodied and doesn't have kids would have to work or be in a job training program in order to get SNAP benefits. But the change wouldn't take effect in New York right away. Teresa Gaffney is the commissioner of the Jefferson County Department of Social Services.
Right now, for this population, this requirement is waived, and that waiver goes through February of 24.
The state got that waiver of SNAP work requirements because of pandemic unemployment rates. It means that at least through February 2024, no one in New York can lose their SNAP benefits because they're not working. But after that, those 54 and under would only be allowed 3 months of SNAP every 3 years.
If they are not employed after that 3 months, or they're not participating in an employment activity, they will lose it. They will lose the SNAP benefits. And with food prices the way they are right now, I think this is going to be even more difficult.
I mean, it's going to increase the amounts of food insecurity.
Andrea Montgomery of the St. Lawrence County Office for the Aging says some people between 49 and 54 could lose food benefits they rely on. Her office delivers meals to older people. Clients don't have to be below a certain income level to be eligible for the meals, but they do have to be old enough.
Our funding specifically starts at 60. But, as I say that, at the same time, we're not going to know about someone and let them not, have access to food. So while we might not deliver to them, we would help get them hooked up with a regular source of food.
Montgomery says people will have to turn to other local organizations for help.
Food pantries, your neighborhood centers, a lot of local churches do distribution. So I think all of them would see an increase in demand for their services.
The adjusted SNAP work requirements will not apply to veterans or unhoused people. Lucy Grindon, North Country Public Radio.
A group of young people from the Adirondacks is in northern Ontario this week for a youth climate summit. The students are there as part of the Wild Center's Youth Climate Program. They're attending workshops, presenting local community climate action plans, and connecting with other young environmentalists from around North America. A highlight of the conference was a lecture and conversation with Dr. Jane Goodall, the renowned English primatologist and anthropologist. Two of the students, Jenna and Anthony, took a break from the busy 2-day gathering to share their thoughts with Todd Moe.
I'm Jenna. I go to Saranac Lake High School, and I'm the president of the Green Storm. It's our version of the Green Team.
I want to hear what your experience has been like. What have you been doing? Have you made like a presentation yet? Have you been on a panel? What's been sort of the highlight for you?
Definitely meeting Jane Goodall has been a highlight for me. We got to be on a panel and ask her a couple of questions, and we saw her new IMAX movie, Reasons for Hope, and it was so cool.
Did you get to ask her a question?
Yeah, Anthony and I both got to ask her a question. I was asking about what teenagers could do to help the environment.
Hello, I'm Anthony Zerlo. I am a sophomore in high school. I'm homeschooled as well, and I am the president of the North Country Climate Club, which is a climate change club that I co-founded with some of my climate change friends. I asked her that if the changes she has seen in the world give her hope for the future.
Oh, and that's kind of been her message, right? A message of hope?
Yeah, that's what the documentary that she just put out is all about.
Mm-hmm. What are you going to bring back, Anthony, from this gathering in Ontario? What are you going to bring back that you can sort of turn around and say to your local club, your family, your friends, that, this is something I learned, or this is something I experienced that we really need to think about?
I want to tell people they should go to their own summits and connect with more climate change activists and youth.
Jenna, are you there?
Hello. I am.
I just wanted to ask you that same question that I asked Anthony. What do your friends talk about? What does your local club talk about in terms of the climate and in terms of the Adirondacks? And are we doing a good job? Where do we need to make improvements?
I mean, one thing that we talked about this in our environmental club, but we also were talking about it in the film that we just saw with Jane Goodall, is that we've had the problems with acid rain in the Adirondacks. And, I mean, we don't really have that problem anymore, so that's definitely a reason for hope and something that we've done that's very positive for our environment. There's still, of course, a lot of work that needs to be done, but that's partly why we have all these environmental clubs that are youth-led, and we have all sorts of programs throughout our towns that just help our local environment.
The Wild Center's Jen Kretzer, along with Lake Placid science teacher Tammy Morgan, are leading the group of 5 students from Saranac Lake and Lake Placid high schools. Kretzer says attending this week's summit is part of a tradition at the Wild Center, based in Tupper Lake, to help connect and empower young people to become effective climate leaders.
So the Wild Center's been working with Science North. That's the science center where we're at right now. That's hosting the Northern Ontario Youth Climate Action Summit. And we've been working with Science North for the last year to help them get their summit project off the ground. And they're doing, somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 13 youth climate summits across all of Ontario, and working with young people and making that happen. And it's so exciting to see that in action. So, we've been talking about it for a long time, and then to finally be able to be here and bring young people from Saranac Lake and Lake Placid to see another science center, to meet young people from a different country and to hear different perspectives. It's been really exciting. And we're really working hard to, help continue to grow the Youth Climate Summit movement. We're now at about 160 Youth Climate Summits globally with 9 countries and 25 different states. So it's exciting to see the momentum grow and to see that there's young people everywhere that care about climate change.
That's Jen Kretzer with the Wild Center in Tupper Lake. She spoke with Todd Moe. She led a group of Adirondack High School students to the Northern Ontario Youth Climate Summit in Sudbury, Ontario, north of Toronto, this week. We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. If you're not listening to Story of the Day as a podcast, I got to ask, why not? It's free. It's automatic. It just shows up on your phone or device of choice to listen when you want. And it's available a couple hours before it's on the radio, usually by 4 o'clock. Just search for NCPR Story of the Day in your podcasting app of choice, or go to ncpr.org/podcast to get started. And yes, I will help anyone personally who needs help setting it up. Just email me, david@ncpr.org. Music today by I Am Snow Angel of Lake Placid and Danny Thomas of Canton. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.